Hello and welcome to the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iwi. We're live on Channels Television. These are the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. Members of the Nigerian Labour Congress and some of their affiliate civil society members have staged a protest in the nation's capital against the lingering insecurity in the country. The members, led by the NLC president, were guided by officials of the DSS, police and civil defense corps as they marched along the streets of Abuja.
Before now, we did a letter to the president to discuss state of the nation with him. And that was in June, precisely June 16th. And between that time and now, we have made efforts. A letter to the minister, through the Minister of Labour, acknowledged. Letter to the CSO, to the president, acknowledged. A letter to the secretary, to the government, acknowledged. And between June and now, some of them acknowledged on the 17th, exactly 6 months today. Between that time and now, none of them communicated to the president. And part of the discussion we wanted to go to the president is on national issue of security, both physical security, physical insecurity, and financial insecurity. So it took this issue of action, which was basically to protest and to list to them the level of physical and financial insecurity that the workers are passing through. That yesterday, I think through the governors forum, or through the progressive governors, we were able to secure a meeting with the president, and we listed all these issues, including the issue of crisis in the academic tertiary institutions. And we were clear with him, of course he agreed, that there should be a negotiating machinery in the academic, in the tertiary institutions.
In Lagos, members of the NLC and prominent activists, including human rights lawyer Femi Falana, also embarked on the protest to call government's attention to the issue of insecurity while asking for urgent solutions to resolve the challenges. In Rivers, protesters were at the government house where they were addressed by the permanent secretary of the state government. The labor union in the state embarked on a peaceful march through the Port Harcourt-Aba Express Road from their office, expressing concerns over persistent security challenges and their impact on the safety and livelihoods of Nigerians. Meanwhile, in Taraba, the state chapter of the NLC has joined its counterparts across the country to protest and demand for better security of lives and property for citizens. The peaceful protest, according to the labor union, stems from the rising spate of kidnapping for ransom, banditry, terrorism, farmers and herders clashes, which also threatens food security. They are demanding action rather than rhetorics and urge government to live up to its responsibility of guaranteeing the safety and security of Nigerians.
Our protest today is nothing else but to tell the government that we are not comfortable with the security system of the country. Our school children are kidnapped every day by day, and government is putting no or less effort to that. We said enough is enough.
Yes, sir. Solidarity forever.
By this protest today, Nigerian workers are saying enough of the excuses. We want to see actions. Yes. We want to see the life of ordinary Nigerians is being counted as precious as that of so-called elites. During this protest, all forms of intimidations will be counted as act of terrorism on our workers. So we call on the security agencies, instead of intimidation, let them give us a maximum support that is required of them.
Staying with the NLC protests, in Edo State, the State Council of the NLC has withdrawn from the nationwide protest against insecurity. In a chat with Channels Television, the state's chairman said the timing of the protest is not appropriate, explaining that Edo State serves as a major transit route to several parts of the country, especially during this period of increased travel. He also noted that the Oba of Benin, Oba Eware II, is currently marking the Ana Igwe Festival, which has attracted a large influx of visitors to Benin City. The NLC chairman, however, maintained that the council supports the protest and will join the action once a more convenient date is announced.
We are all aware that the issue of insecurity is not peculiar to only Edo State, it's all over the nation and the world in general. And we from Edo State has to take it from a different direction. We feel that we are not going to be part of this protest because of the past protests we've observed in Edo. Edo is a gateway state to most of the states in Nigeria. You can pass here to the east, you pass here to the west, and you pass here to the north. And we cannot be able to control the situation when it comes to protests, because NSAS is one protest that happens, and what happens in Edo was different from what happened in the whole nation. Bamangida protest too, Bamangida Must Go protest was another one. And we know the aftermath effects to Edo State as a state.
Now, Nigeria has been added to an expanded list of countries partially restricted from travel into the United States from January 1st, 2026. The White House says the ban is intended to protect the security of the United States. On its website, the Trump administration says Nigeria is on the list because of radical Islamic terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and the Islamic State, freely operating in certain parts of the country, which, according to them, create substantial screening and vetting difficulties. Another reason for the ban states that Nigeria had a B1, B2 visa overstay rate of 5.56% and an FM and J visa overstay rate of 11.90%. Meanwhile, full entry restrictions are to be imposed on people from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria, as well as Palestinian Authority passport holders. In Lagos, the State Police Command says all arrangements have been put in place for residents and visitors to have a crime-free festive season. Speaking during the show of Strength Patrol across the state, the Commissioner of Police, Olorundare Jimoh, explained that residents should go about their celebrations without fear, as adequate security have been provided.
Officers of the Lagos State Rapid Response Squad getting prepared for the show of strength activity and combat readiness for any unforeseen situation ahead of the festive season. From the seat of power, Alausa, they moved through Ojota, Maryland, and the police headquarters, Ikeja, where they joined the command team led by the Commissioner of Police, Olorundare Jimoh, for the routine exercise as they start with a test on the level of readiness of all officers and men. From there, they moved to Ikeja under the bridge, walking through the popular Computer Village axis with the message, Lagos is safe and secured.
The two of us usually take off from the headquarters, and you have witnessed when we are taking off, there's some use of smoke, tear gas, for the men to get alert and get ready for the exercise for the day. This is one of our confidence building initiative and patrol to ensure that we assure the members of the public of their safety throughout Lagos State. The Lagos State Police Command is ever ready to ensure maximum security for all Lagosians throughout the local areas of the state. And that is what we are demonstrating. We want to assure the residents that they are safe and secure to go about their lawful activities. That's the purpose of the show of force exercise.
Mr. Jima further highlights the command's arrangement and area of coverage.
For elaborate security arrangement that will cover all places of worship, places of recreation, and places of embark or disembarking into the state. Especially the entry and exit points into the state have been properly covered. Outside the personnel you see with me, the RRS, the operation officers of the AC office there, with all the operational team and all the other sectors of the command are equally here. Outside this, we have the deployment of equally the tactical squad throughout the waterfront. The Marine Police are with them, and equally through our borders with the other neighboring states.
From Ikeja to Surulere, through Alaka, they progress in convoy to the very busy Lagos Island. From Victoria Island to the Lekki area. On their return trip to base, they made a brief stop at the Lekki toll gate, where they had a further test on the team, a test of capability to smoke out criminals across the state during and beyond the season.
You're watching the news at 5 live on Channels Television. Still ahead, the PDP knocks down Okpebholo over alleged misappropriation of funds. That's when we'll come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Persons living with disabilities in Rivers State are calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to put in place stronger measures that will guarantee their full participation in the 2027 general elections. The call follows a stakeholders' engagement focused on addressing barriers faced by persons with disabilities during previous elections.
The demand for inclusion by PWDs in Rivers State is contained in a communique signed by cluster heads of various disability groups after a brainstorming session organized by the Stakeholder Democracy Network in collaboration with the Rivers State Ministry of Social Welfare and Rehabilitation. Secretary of the drafting committee, Ifeyinwa Dora, urges INEC to fully enforce existing laws protecting the rights of persons with disabilities.
The Independent National Electoral Commission should commence consistent sensitization programs for all security agencies on the management and protection of persons with disabilities before, during, and after the voting process. The Rivers State House of Assembly should domesticate the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Provision Act 2018 and the Electoral Act.
The communique also appeals to the Inter-Party Advisory Council to ensure that political parties actively include persons with disabilities in their decision-making processes and those with political ambitions in line with constitutional provisions.
Inter-Party Advisory Councils, IPACs, should direct all political parties to incorporate persons with disabilities in their decision-making processes, nominate them as candidates, and sponsor their elections in line with relevant provisions of the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. The Independent National Electoral Commission should take clear-cut action to enforce provisions in relevant laws that safeguard the right of and ensure a seamless electoral process for persons with disabilities.
On her part, the head of governance at the Stakeholder Democracy Network, Flora Asiri, says the engagement is aimed at strengthening the inclusion of persons with disabilities in Rivers State's electoral processes.
As a civil society organization, we normally, observe elections. So at the different wards and units, we noticed that there were not assistive, aids that the Electoral Act had already covered for persons with disability. So again, after the elections, there was also not the right reporting mechanism for them to highlight any issues that they must have experienced in the course of the 2023 elections. And this led us to, have further discussions with them. And we saw the gap, and that is what we're trying to bridge, so that this won't repeat itself come 2027.
Representatives of various disability groups attended the session held under the Strengthening Inclusion and Participation Project to examine challenges encountered during past elections and propose practical solutions to improve participation ahead of the next electoral cycle. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State has again criticized the administration of Governor Monday Okpebholo over alleged misappropriation of funds from the federal allocation. The state chairman of the party, Anthony Azegbemi, made the allegation during the PDP's end-of-the-year briefing at the party secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State's capital. According to him, revenue accruing to Edo State has increased significantly compared to the previous administration, but he claims there is little to show for it in terms of projects and service delivery.
Edo State under Okpebholo is getting 3-4 times what the previous administration was getting. But can anybody in Edo State tell us that we are living in better times? There is no corresponding improvement in infrastructure, no visible expansion of social services, no renewal of public institutions, no measurable uplift in the lives of ordinary Edo people. Roads are deteriorating, not improving. This stark disconnect between massive federal allocations and negligible outcome raises serious concerns about fiscal responsibility, value for money, and the priorities of the current administration. There's even a more troubling issue, which is that these statutory allocations continue to be released to unelected local government impostors. There is no local government in Edo State that is governed by an elected council chairman, while duly elected chairmen who have secured court judgments are excluded from office and denied access to office.
On business news, Nigeria's pension industry recorded a sharp expansion over the past year, with total assets under management rising by 22% to 26.7 trillion naira at the end of October. According to analysts at the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, PENOP, the expansion was driven by strong market performance, increased contribution inflows, and broader diversification across asset classes. Holdings in federal government securities recorded the highest growth among traditional assets as it expanded by 17.6%, rising from 13.57 trillion naira to 15.96 trillion naira. This comes as pension funds increased exposure to government-backed instruments. PENCOM, in its third quarter report on the performance of the industry, notes that reform momentum has driven stability, growth, and confidence in Nigeria's pension system. And still with pension matters, the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, has commenced the disbursement of the 758 billion naira bond, which was approved by the federal government to retirees. The Director General of PENCOM, who made this known at the Pension Revolution Summit in Abuja, explained that the bond, which was approved by President Bola Tinubu in February, had already been cashed. The PENCOM chief also mentioned that pension assets in Nigeria have now grown to about 27 trillion naira, an achievement she attributes to bold decisions and structured reforms under the Pension Revolution 2.0 initiative. Mrs. Omololala Olorunwaro also confirmed that over 600 billion naira has been disbursed to settle arrears, marking a significant milestone in addressing pension obligations. The Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria has dismissed viral social media claims that flour prices have crashed and accused bakers of refusing to reduce bread prices. The association describes the reports as false, misleading, and aimed at turning the public against struggling bread producers. According to the group, the price of a kilogram bag of flour currently ranges between 55,000 naira and 62,000 naira, far above the figure circulating online. While some millers recently announced a modest price reduction, bakers say the savings are minimal and quickly erased by rising costs of energy, transportation, labor, equipment maintenance, and multiple taxes. PBAN insists bread prices cannot come down sustainably until broader economic pressures are eased, assuring consumers it remains committed to quality, affordability, and transparency. Outside our shores in business, British multinational alcoholic beverage firm Diageo PLC has agreed to sell its 65% shareholding in East African Breweries PLC to Japan's Asahi Group Holdings. The deal, announced in a statement today, will see the British multinational dispose of its entire 100% ownership in Diageo Kenya Limited, which holds a 65% stake in EABL, as well as its 53.68% direct stake in Kenya-based spirits producer and importer UDV. The landmark transaction, which reshapes ownership of the region's largest brewing group, marks the biggest ever entry by a Japanese brewer into Africa's alcoholic beverages market. Diageo says the disposal is consistent with its strategy of selective sales of non-core assets aimed at strengthening its balance sheet and accelerating deleveraging. And back home, the Anambra State Internal Revenue Service, AIRS, have convened its maiden tax summit in Awka, the Anambra State capital, to educate residents and the wider Nigerian public about the new tax law passed by the National Assembly and scheduled to take effect in 2026. According to the chairman of AIRS, Dr. Greg Izilo, the summit also intends to promote understanding and compliance with the law, addressing concerns and misconceptions surrounding the new tax regime, as well as provide opportunities for information and updates for citizens.
With the coming of the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, it does appear that we have now come to a saddle point with a one-stop shop for the taxing system in Nigeria. In this sense, whatever anyone needs to know about taxing in Nigeria, at least at this moment, NTA 2025 has the answer. Indeed, a handful of changes now await to be unveiled come January 1, 2026. It's equally apt to say that tax monetization in Nigeria begins and ends with the NTA 2025, instilling discipline, sanity, order, national and subnational cooperation and integration, and even prosperity to both the taxing authorities and taxpayers at large. This expectedly will sound the death knell for desperate known and unknown non-state actors across the country. Let me sound it loud and clear that the punitiveness of the laws in place, both at the national and subnational levels, has no mercy for these set of individuals. I mean, tax evaders and others. It seems to me ARS is the first of all the subnationals to hold this event. CITN has to confirm that from their records, because we want to take our people on the forefront of compliance when this law takes its effect from January 1, 2026. So we don't want to stay behind. After this one, we begin to talk at the level of town hall meetings.
And that's it on the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwu. Up next is The World Today. Enjoy the rest of your evening.